Erica. Thanks for agreeing to this interview, taking time out of your life to not only listen to these questions I'm about to ask you, but to take time to respond to these questions by recording yourself answering them as well. One of the things I learned from the pilot episode I made that I sent to you about a month ago, I believe, is that the time it took me to ask questions and to answer my own questions took a great deal amount of time because I felt like I had a lot to say. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do during this interview is if you could please, when responding to these questions, try to edit yourself to respond to these in about maybe a minute to 2 minutes at most response time. Just because, like I said, I learned from my pilot episodes that it took about half an hour just to go through 10 questions, and I'd really like this to be a shorter episode than that. So if you could please, when recording your responses to these questions, just keep them as concise and as heartfelt as possible. So with that, I'll go ahead and begin my line of questioning to save time. So yeah, I came across your valedictorian high school, I believe, speech online, and it was something that really resonated within me, just as someone that thinks and reflects on their own time. And I was just wondering what prompted you, or what motivated you to actually take the time to not only write that speech but actually deliver it to your classmates. That's a very bold thing to do at that age, where especially if you've spent your entire high school career trying to get good grades. What prompted that?
Hi, Nick. First of all, thanks for having me. To answer your first question, what prompted me to write that speech was really a feeling of lack of self-confidence, maybe, because all my school career I had grown up thinking I was special and extra smart and I was going to succeed, and yet all these feelings started coming over me, realizing that there are so many other people just like me. I'm not actually that special as a high school valedictorian. I'm not actually that smart because, hey, I can just do what I'm told, but can I actually be creative with my intelligence? And that I didn't even know what I wanted to do, so how was I supposed to be successful if I didn't even have my own passion? But what prompted me to actually deliver this speech to my fellow students? I guess just the opportunity to give the speech. At first, I had no idea what I was going to say. I didn't even know I was going to be valedictorian until a month before graduation when it was announced. So once I found that out, I had the opportunity to write a speech, and all I knew is that I wanted the speech to be great. And as I tried writing different ideas, I couldn't feel like what I was doing was genuine. I was trying to be positive, and yet I actually felt pretty negative about my high school experience. So finally I just decided to write my real feelings, and that is what was delivered on the graduation day.
Okay, I see. Well, could you briefly describe to the viewers what your experience was like as a valedictorian? I mean, I know personally, going through to high school, community college, and university, I never really associated or socialized with grade A students. I mean, they're obviously working their butts off trying to achieve whatever goals they've set for themselves, either 5.0 GPA, I don't know, but I don't have any experience with them. So I was just wondering if you could share, not only with me but with the people who are watching this, what your experiences were like as a valedictorian.
Well, I actually think that I'm a pretty unconventional valedictorian because um, I had a lot of different experiences in high school. Ever since I was young, I always got A's. I just learned how to basically do my homework as soon as possible and get it over with and then have my social life. So my social life was kind of like my treat. And believe it or not, there's actually a lot of free time in school throughout the day that a lot of people just don't take advantage of. So at the end of class, when the teacher says, okay, we have 10 minutes, work on your homework, I was able to actually get my homework done instead of chit-chatting or daydreaming or whatnot. So I always figured out ways to do things quickly. And then in high school, I actually ended up partying a lot and doing drugs and being experimental and also having a part-time job and living a pretty normal life, I would say, like a normal high schooler. I also didn't have one specific group of people that I hung out with, but I was always hanging out with a lot of different types of people, different ages. So I think that also developed my character and made it so on my graduation day I really had no one specific that I was worrying about impressing or not, because I was used to hanging out with different groups of people and knowing that there are many different types of people, and the ones that will or will not respect you doesn't matter so much, because you can always find people that you do get along with.
Interesting. Well, since you were so busy being a valedictorian, what exactly did you do whenever you had free time? Like, what were your recreational activities? That's always something that's kind of that I found curious with people who do spend their time slaving away at not just trying to get good grades, but at work too. What do you do to kind of enjoy yourself? Like, what pleasures do you have outside of that rigorous work ethic? Could you also share with not only me but the viewers what it was like? What exactly you did for recreation? What did you do for fun? What did you do outside of your rigorous work ethic?
Okay, so I guess maybe you could use rigorous to describe my work ethic, because yes, I always compartmentalized my schedule, and this is the time for the homework, and then this is time for my part-time job. Oh, and look, I have free time here, social time here, usually on the weekends. And exactly what would I do? Different things, I would go to high school parties, sometimes college parties. I would go out in nature, go cliff jumping, go hiking. I actually remember when I was younger, though, I think I spent a lot of time watching TV and just playing on the computer. um, that was more in middle school, but yeah, I always just wanted to turn my brain off and do some kind of activity that had nothing to do with intellectual thought. So if you could think of something like that, that would probably be what I would be doing.
All right, cool. You also mentioned in your speech that you kind of made a blanket statement about how you took the time to reflect about things that were going on in the world outside of what you say other students aren't necessarily doing. And I'm wondering, not necessarily why you said that, but what were things that you, during times that you weren't being a valedictorian, what were you thinking about? What were you reflecting on? What were you, what specific issues were of interest to you? Because I know, I'm pretty sure that students are thinking about things outside of the distractions that distract them. There are things that people are passionate about, and I guess what I'm asking is what issues were you very passionate about that got you reflecting and thinking about them outside of your valedictorian work?
You know, in my speech, I was actually concerned that I didn't have a passion and that maybe I had just been too social and been focusing on the entertainment of other people too much to focus on myself. But now that I think about it, I know that I definitely was really interested in philosophy, mostly just because I had the same existential questions like most teenagers, right? Like, what is the meaning of life? Is there a God? Things like that. So I really tortured myself with these questions, and of course they have no answer, but I like to talk about them with other people, and one of my favorite books, and still is 25 Adventures in the Philosophy Gym by Stephen Law, and just explores different philosophical questions in a really fun and unique way. And another thing that I became really interested in towards the end of my high school career was just the capitalistic system, some kind of system that I had grown up in and seemed to have a lot of flaws. And actually, that's why at the end of my high school career, I took a trip to live at an intentional community for 1 month and really enjoyed it. And I would go back there again. And yeah, from then on, I've always thought about different social systems and different ways that we can live in this world.
Okay. Now, before I actually go and show a clip of the speech you made, you mentioned something at one point as you were giving the speech that you have no idea what you're going to do with your life, or that you have no clue what to do next, other than go along with the, I guess, predetermined expectations that people have for you and what to do, which I think a lot of young people can really relate to. Since that time, since you made that speech, which I think you gave it in like 2010, I believe, maybe give or take a year. So it's been roughly 3 or 4 years, I want to say, since you've given that speech. If I'm giving the correct date that you've delivered it. So I'm just wondering, what have you done since then? Have you actually gone down that predetermined path and just done what was expected of you, or have you made some slight changes since giving that speech and have tried to possibly exert more control over your own life? I don't want to make any assumptions of what you've done or haven't done, but what exactly have you done? What have you done since giving that speech? I'm wondering.
Well, I definitely don't feel like I've gone down a predetermined path. I even try to determine the path myself, and I surprise myself. So, I've actually gone to university for a few semesters. So, although in the predetermined path I would have been done with my degree by now, I only have 2 years done. I actually went to college early for the last year of high school. So, one of those years was before the speech. So. But I finally found a way to combine getting my college degree with traveling. Currently, I'm in Mexico City. I'm teaching English in order to sustain myself. I'll be here for another 2 months, and then I'm going to start traveling again and head down to South America is the plan. But I'm also working on my college degree online through University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. They have a program called Earth, Society, and Environmental Sustainability. And I entered the program basically because I thought of working in geographic information systems. Basically, just making maps on computers can be used in many, many different ways. And it's something that I can do from a computer, and I can continue traveling which is really my main goal, just see the world as much as possible before I die. I've been throughout the United States. I've lived on a school bus traveling through Louisiana and Texas, the unschool bus actually. Everyone should check them out. I've lived in California at a spiritual retreat center. I've lived in New Jersey, in a Korean town. The majority were Koreans. I've been down to Guatemala. I'm now in Mexico. These are just the places I've been on my own. I've been to other places in groups with family in the past, but this is just my life right now as I slowly move from place to place every few months. I find different living situations, different ways of working, and it really has been fun, and it's been something that I definitely haven't expected, and I would encourage everyone to take a similar path of just learning different things in every new place or going somewhere specifically to learn something. That's my recommendation. That's usually what I try to do.
All right, and with that being said, I'll go ahead and roll a short clip of the speech that Erica and I have been referencing for the first half of this episode. So go ahead and take a listen.
The saddest part is that the majority of students don't have the opportunity to reflect as I did. The majority of students are put through the same brainwashing techniques in order to create a complacent labor force working in the interests of large corporations and secretive government. And worst of all, they are completely unaware of it. I will never be able to turn back these 18 years. I can't run away to another country with a different education system, perhaps meant to enlighten rather than condition. This part of my life is over, and I want to make sure that no other child will have his or her potential suppressed by powers meant to exploit and control. We are human beings. We are thinkers, dreamers, explorers, artists, writers, engineers. We are anything we want to be, but only if we have an educational system that supports us rather than holds us down. A tree can grow, but only if its roots are given a healthy foundation. Education is an excellent tool if used properly, but focus more on learning rather than getting good grades. For those of you that work within the system that I am condemning, I do not mean to insult. I intend to motivate. You have the power to change the incompetencies of the system. I know that you did not become a teacher or an administrator to see your students bored. You cannot accept the authority of the governing bodies that tell you what to teach, how to teach, and that you will be punished if you do not comply. Our potential is at stake. For those of you that are now leaving this establishment, I say, do not forget what went on in these classrooms. Do not abandon those that come after you. We are the new future, and we are not going to let tradition stand. We will break down the walls of corruption to let a garden of knowledge grow throughout America.
So basically that was a clip of the high school speech that Erica and I have been referencing throughout the first half of this episode, and if any of you are interested in checking out the entire speech, you can find it on YouTube, I believe, or other various sources online, either by typing in her name, Erica Goldson, in a Google search, or you can do what I do and basically just type in high school valedictorian speech, or high school valedictorian speaks out against schooling. That usually pulls it up right away. So go ahead and check it out if you feel like doing that. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and continue with my line of questioning. So Erica, you mentioned in, I believe it was your previous answer, that you actually found a program available, I think it was online, through an online university program, where you're majoring, I believe, in Earth Society and environmental sustainability. And at the time when I emailed you last and sent you some links to some environmental sustainability, I didn't realize that you had mentioned in your last answer that you were specifically focusing on being a geographic information systems or someone that deals with geographic information systems. I've never heard of something like that. It seems seems like something that is obviously very relevant, both in today and the past, making maps. But it seems like you're more focused on 3D maps and most likely working for like Google Maps or something. But I don't know. So my question, I guess, is could you further explain what that basically entails? Either your specific career path of geographic information systems, or if you want to talk in a broader sense about the program of Earth Society and environmental sustainability. I think it would benefit a lot of people who are uncertain of what they want to do with their life if you were to share your experiences with that and just give people the opportunity to see if that's a path they would like to choose. So could you please elaborate on either of those topics?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I feel like I've decided to succumb to the pressure of getting a college degree. But I've managed to find a way to do it in my own time, in my own way, and with something that I think is pretty interesting. At first, I was trying to avoid it. I was thinking, I can just live a happy life being a traveling waitress, but that got old kind of fast when I realized how valuable money is. And it's sad to say, but money I view now as a resource in order to get the things that I want, and it's easier to get the things I want if I work in a different type of industry than just waitressing, especially when I was traveling in countries that make a lot less money than the average waitress in the United States, for example. It makes it a lot more difficult to travel. And not just that, but other random jobs as well. And I thought, okay, well, I need to study something. I need to do something professional, right? So I remember I just did a Google search on what I could do if I majored in geography, because I had a friend who had majored in geography. And it was just basic stuff, like teaching and things that I wasn't so interested in. And then I found GIS. And still, I haven't even taken any classes in GIS yet. I'm mostly focusing on environmental sciences right now and sociology classes. But basically, my idea of it is I'll be able to learn how to use the software, and this kind of technology can be used for good or it can be used for bad. I would hope to ultimately use it in some kind of nonprofit organization in the future. I can use it in environmental sciences, but I think I'm more interested in sociological sciences, and specifically something that I've always been passionate about since I was a younger teenager was that there's sex slaves that still exist. There's human trafficking that's going on this day, and it's something that you can map and try to help solve based on where are the occurrences happening, where are people being found, and hopefully, I'm thinking I can use it for that one day.
All right, cool. You had also mentioned in one of your previous answers that one of your life goals at the moment is to travel the world as much as possible and before you die, and that's currently something that's I think at this age we're both in our early 20s, mid 20s. That's kind of the shared experience a lot of people our age have, similar to the experiences of not knowing what you want to do with your life when you're just graduating high school. So I was just wondering if you could not necessarily elaborate on the anxiety you may feel with trying or wanting to travel the world, but what are some of your intended locations? Like where are some specific places you'd like to go? What are some cultures that interest you? What about traveling the world specifically are you looking for? Because saying you want to travel the world is very broad, but but there must be something specifically you're attracted to or find a strong interest in. I was just wondering if you could share that with us.
Well, I used to say that I did just want to travel the whole world, and now that seems a little overwhelming since it's a pretty big place. Um, and I think the reason why I've always been attracted to it is the sense of novelty. I love new experiences, new things, new people, new ideas, especially just opening my mind. For example, yesterday I was just randomly researching Japanese mythology, and I thought, wow, this is something that I've never been introduced to before, and it's such a different way of thinking that Western society normally isn't exposed to. So, as for trying to limit it down, like what specific places do I want to travel? Um, I guess I kind of am in my head. I'm dividing up the world into 6 basic areas, and that's because I have a goal of learning all 6 official UN languages, which are English, which I got down pretty well, Spanish, French, Arabic, Russian, and Mandarin Chinese. And so when I think about these languages and how they represent such a large majority of the world and how I can learn different thoughts based on each language, that's how I kind of see myself traveling, is going to these different places where I can learn these languages and of course visiting the surrounding areas, but mostly immersing myself in those languages first and foremost.
Okay, nice. Um, you had mentioned that in high school you had kind of socialized a lot, or during your free time after you rushed through your homework and completed as much of your assigned duties as possible, so that way you could have free time to hang out with other people and socialize. And then, but I think if I remember correctly, you had stressed, or not stressed, but you had mentioned that you kind of floated around, or that you talked to many people. I was wondering if both during that time in high school as well as your experiences in general, if there's been any type of group of people that either you found very interesting or influenced you directly, and you can even give a shout out to specific individuals if you want, that kind of influenced your life or shaped you into the individual you are today. Is there anyone you'd like to mention, or a group of people that not group of people, but people that type of people you were drawn to? Is there anything you'd like to elaborate on that, or share with us? I'm curious. I'd like to know where specifically you were drawn to in personality or character.
That's a really good question, and I love it because I do interviews sometimes, and I usually get the same kind of questions, but that's different. So to answer it, I guess now that I think about it, I realize that the type of people I'm drawn to are people that are just different. You can just tell that they're different based on not how they look necessarily, but how they act, how they hold themselves, how they have like a childlike mind almost, like they have such interest in the world and they're not so serious about it either. Of course, everyone has their problems that they have to take care of, so there is some level of seriousness in this world, but people that are just light and I guess I mean that in both senses, like light as in not so heavy, but also light as in they express this type of shining personality. And not only are they interested in the world, but that's what makes them interesting, because they're always learning new things, and therefore they have new things to share. And I love how I'm the same way, and I can just bounce off new things whenever I meet them.
Awesome. All right. Well, that basically takes care of all the difficult questions I had to come up with for this episode. And now we get to the last two standard easy questions I'll have for my series. This part of the episode is basically going to be your opportunity to ask me a question. I know I've been asking you a lot of questions for the last 10-15 minutes or so. And so if you'd like to take the opportunity to ask me something that you haven't had the chance to throughout this interview, now's your chance, and feel free to ask me anything. It could be an easy question, or you could throw me a curveball. Just basically whatever question you want to ask me. If you could only ask me one question, this is your opportunity to ask me it, and I'll do my best to answer it as sincerely and appropriately as I will allow myself to do. So you have any questions for me?
Yeah, one question. So, if you could accomplish anything before you died, what would it be? And this accomplishment, maybe, I don't really like that word because it means that there's an end to something, right? It means that I have succeeded, I have done this. But maybe when I say accomplishment, it could also mean I have been this way my entire life, or I have always done this up until my death.
Alright, so after letting that question of yours sit on my mind for a while, something that I want to accomplish in life, there were a number of different ways I wanted to answer that, and they both primarily dealt with my past self, what I wanted to accomplish when I was younger, and now in the present moment what I'm looking forward in the future to accomplishing. And I found an answer that kind of combines the two and basically sums up a lot of what I'm trying to accomplish in life, as you asked. And that's basically to remain as true to myself as possible. One of the things that I decided at a very young age when I transferred from a private elementary school to a public middle school was just how much I didn't want to surrender myself to my peers or to my environment. And for a long time throughout middle school, high school, and even the first couple of years of community college, I was able to do that. But for a while I lost sight of that, and that's kind of one of the things I referenced in my pilot episode when I felt like I had lost something. And that was the core of what I am, just being who I am, remaining true to myself. And I even have one of the first videos I uploaded on this particular channel is entitled "Believe in Yourself," with the B and the U in caps. Be you, believe in yourself. So if there's one thing I'm trying to accomplish in this life, it's to remain true to myself, believe in myself, and to just be myself, all the while helping others to remain true to themselves, believe in themselves, and be themselves. So I hope that answered your question. I'll go ahead and move on to my last question for you in this episode. And that basically takes care of the majority of this interview. We've come to the final question in this episode, and it's primarily one of the reasons why I wanted to work on this project, was to specifically ask this question of the people that I find interesting, and ask to be guests on this channel. Basically, if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to either your younger version of yourself or someone in the world right now who's watching this video and is very similar to a younger version of yourself, or relates to you very strongly, what words of wisdom, what advice would you give them? What would you convey to them at this very moment to either help them along their journey or dissuade them from making any poor choices? Just basically, what if you could say something, just anything, to your younger self or someone similar to your younger self, what would you say? And feel free to take your time answering this question.
Yeah, well, when I think about my younger self, I think about the time in my younger life where I was depressed and I was feeling really shitty about the world. And I didn't know where my life was going, why I was alive, what my purpose was. And I felt trapped in that state of mind and was really focused on that. And so what I would love to tell that, and actually, I don't know if I would, because, because then if you tell your younger self something, then you mess up your future. But I like my future right now, so. But, no, I'm sure this piece of advice would be really great for a lot of people, and that is to know that once you do take control of your own life and you start being responsible for your own decisions and not blaming others, not blaming society, and realizing that there are things that you can actually fix, then life becomes a lot better and you find your purpose because you're working towards something. So instead of being stuck in some kind of depression, realize that you have the power to get out of it and just do a lot of research. Like, I always find myself doing research. I love the internet. Gosh, I don't know what my life would be like without it. Probably pretty normal, right? I'd just be living in the same place my whole life and, I don't know, getting married and having kids and feeling unfulfilled. But no, now I have the internet and we have all these connections and all these resources in order to learn so many different things. And anytime you have a problem, you can find answers to it. And that's it. Just take control. Do what you gotta do. Become a better person. Always be trying to improve yourself. And I think through that process of improving yourself, it ends up improving others, because then you start affecting others with your own personality and your own viewpoints without even knowing it, just subconsciously. So again, Nick, thank you for having me. This was a really good interview, and let's keep in touch. Bye.
Thank you. Yes, I'd definitely like to stay in touch with you. Probably one of the best ways of doing that would be to just simply subscribe to the YouTube channel I upload this episode on, and I'll be sure to send you a link to that as soon as I've finished putting it together and gotten your approval of uploading the episode. But yeah, thank you for being a guest on this project I'm trying to start out, and I just want to close off by saying since the theme of this series is encouragement and inspiration, I'd like to end off by encouraging you to either keep writing speeches like the one you gave for your high school, or to just find a way to express yourself the same way you did at that particular moment in time. One thing I noticed when I looked for your actual speech online recently to include as part of this episode, I noticed that the particular YouTube account in which that video was uploaded on with your name, that's the only video associated with that account. And what's even more surprising is that there's 1,000 subscribers to that YouTube channel, just even though there's only one video. So I feel like there's a great opportunity for you to take advantage of that YouTube account to at least share your thoughts every once in a while. It doesn't have to be anything profound like your speech was, but I definitely think you have an ability to express your thoughts and ideas in a way that a lot of people aren't able to do. And anytime you have something that you've been thinking about or something you want to say with share with others, just record yourself and upload it on that channel and let those 1,000 people who have subscribed to it hear your thoughts, and who knows, it might help someone. It might or it could possibly validate other people's thoughts, just to hear someone else say them. Maybe other people don't have the courage or the ability to say what they're thinking in the manner that you do, and just hearing someone else say them will help them give the courage themselves to speak up for themselves and say things that they want to say for themselves. So I definitely encourage you to make more videos of yourself just speaking and thinking. I know it's definitely inspired me. It's one of the reasons why I started doing this YouTube project, and I think it'll inspire others. So thanks again for being a guest on this series I'm starting, and I'll definitely stay in touch with you. Take care.